Hey guys, and welcome to our first top 5 video. Here we're going to be discussing our top 5 favourite moments from the Netflix original TV show House of Cards. We just want to say that before we get started, this video will contain spoilers, so if you are planning on watching the show, you might want to come back to us at a later date. With that being said, let's jump in at number 5.
So in at number 5 we have the executions. This scene takes place after Frank declares war on the terrorist group ICO. This comes about due to Yusuf, a terrorist held captive at Gitmo, going back on his word, and instead instructs the two young terrorists to kill the hostage if either of his demands aren't met. These are if either Yusuf isn't released, or if the government find out where the hostage is being held captive. The tape of James Miller's execution is played to the boardroom, and everyone apart from Frank, Claire and Tom look away. We like this scene because within the brutality, we see a deviance from the show's traditional tone. And this sort of violence isn't something that we've previously seen in the show, as violence tends to be portrayed verbally rather than physically. We also like this scene because it shows how hardened Claire and Frank have become over the last 4 seasons.
In at number 4 we've got Doug versus Gavin. This scene starts with Gavin butchering an onion aboard his houseboat. As he opens the door, Doug proceeds to knock him to the floor and beat him up. We find out that Doug is doing this because Gavin has previously withheld information from him. This pertains to the whereabouts of Rachel, a character that Doug's quite obsessed with finding. After beating Gavin some more, he proceeds to hold a knife to his throat. We really like this scene because it shows just how unpredictable Doug can be when he's trying to get what he wants out of someone. We also like this scene because it shows that Doug is at a point of no return now, and this shows that he's willing to get violent. This whole scene's great because we're not quite sure how far Doug's gonna go to get the information he needs.
So in at number 3 we've got Frank's hallucinations. This scene takes place after Frank's hospitalisation. He's become very unwell and begins to have vivid hallucinations. In this particular one, he's visited at the Oval Office by Zoe. Having murdered her in the first episode of season 2, we see that he still actually thinks about her. The hallucinations show Zoe trying to seduce Frank when there's a knock at the door. Russo enters and the tone becomes darker. At this point, Russo gets aggressive with Frank, while Zoe smokes a cigarette in the same way that Claire does. We like this scene because it shows that despite murdering both of these characters, Frank still thinks about them, even if he doesn't outwardly show any remorse or regret. You can also argue that Frank's hallucinations have been the most fourth wall breaking aspect of the show so far, as it gives an honest insight into what exactly goes on in Frank's head, rather than just what he's telling us, the audience.
In at number 2 we've got Russo's death. So as previously mentioned, Frank does kill Russo. Sorry to everyone that's just started season 1 of House of Cards, we do apologise for that. After the events of Frank and Doug trying to sober Russo up, he finally derails, and this puts a massive strain on his professional and his personal life. This scene begins with Frank picking Russo up from the lockup and driving him back to his personal garage. Frank fuels the fire with more alcohol, with the hopes of trying to get Peter to drink himself to sleep. At this point, Frank turns on the engine, leaves the car, closes the garage door, and lets Peter pipe a picture pickle pepper. Sorry. Okay, let's do that a bit again. At this point, Frank turns on the engine, leaves the car, and closes the garage door behind him. We like this scene because Russo is a character that we really sympathise with. After watching him struggle with alcoholism for so long, we were sad to see him kick the bucket of piss. It's very telling about Frank's character as he just gets up and walks away as if it's nothing to him.
In at number 1 we have Shame on You, Mr. President. As UN Ambassador, it's Claire's duty to speak on behalf of the government regarding Michael Corrigan's suicide. The statement that she gives, however, reflects Russia's anti-gay laws and rhetoric. However, Claire feels like she needs to convey Corrigan's actual feelings before his death. We enjoyed this scene because both Frank and Petrov have finally agreed on something to have it all come crumbling down by the actions of Claire. With this happening in the remaining minutes of season 4, it made us even more excited for the anticipation of season 5. At this point, nobody was quite sure how Petrov was going to react, whether he'd declare war on the US, or whether he was going to rebel at all. It was a very powerful scene and left fans anticipating season 5 even more.
Right guys, that's our top 5 moments of the TV show House of Cards. We just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you did like what we talked about, then please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like what we talked about, then please give us a thumbs up. Also, leave a comment and let us know what your top picks are for House of Cards. Again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.